Special guest in conversation this week. We go back a long way. I did say to my producer, actually, I can't remember the last time we went out for lunch, I think, with your hubby.
Yes.
And we had a very nice time. I can't tell you the name of the restaurant, but I walked in and she remembered me. So either I've not changed in the years or she's remembered, which is quite good. Rarely off our televisions. Hers is the only fitness DVD I say to people you should buy, because she's the only one who does it seriously. She's not just doing it like a lot of reality people, you know, want to earn 50 grand, bring out a DVD, and you know that it doesn't work. She is fit. Her husband is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. Does he have a nickname for you this month? He seems to change nicknames.
Oh, God. Last night, we went out for dinner last night, and he said, Schneevel. He said, Schneevel, like, called me across the road. And I was like, not in public, darling, not in public. Oh, my
Where would you get Schneevel from? Out of Davina McCall? How does that...
Schneevel, Schnafflank. I mean, it's literally
he's
anything.
Lost it, hasn't he?
He's
completely gone.
He's lost it.
But look at all these years later, down the line, still holding it together, which in this business is a rarity.
It is, and it's not all plain sailing. And I really always want to say that, because I think people look at our lives, anybody's lives, on Instagram or Facebook or in interviews, and of course you're not going to go, we had a massive argument last week, you know, and so people kind of think, it's perfect. It's not perfect, but it's like any other marriage. But we've been together 18 years and I still love him like mad.
You make it work.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, he's stunningly gorgeous, sickeningly gorgeous. I mean, really,
do you know,
anybody
last
be
night,
mad?
He was running around the kids' bedrooms, getting them all overexcited in his pants.
Oh, dear.
And he's got the most amazing physique. I thought, well done you. You've really looked after yourself.
I love the way he's got the most amazing... You've been married to him 18 years.
But 47. He's 47 and
Is he?
He's smoking hot. I'm very lucky.
Yeah,
I am.
No, it's not lucky. I think it's a great meeting.
Yeah, no, it's a great meeting.
Because I think when we went out for lunch, I think you'd started going out.
Yes.
I think it must have been that long ago.
Yeah, it was before the wedding.
Yes, it was before the wedding.
Yeah, I know.
And you're out in the country.
Yeah.
And doing lovely things. And now you can divide your time. They seem to accept you on lots of different television channels, which is a rarity in this day and age. Normally, if you work for the BBC, you're stuck with the BBC. Nobody touches you. You can seem to wander from channel to channel.
I made a very clear decision right at the beginning of my career, because I did Don't Try This at Home on ITV, and they said, would you like a golden handcuffs for a 2-year deal with ITV? And I suddenly thought, Channel 4 were offering me Street Mate, and I thought, but I wouldn't be able to do Street Mate if I did a golden handcuffs. And actually, if I'd done it, I wouldn't have got Big Brother. So I'm very grateful actually that I did make that decision at the time, because it was a lot of money, a lot more money than I was making to do the deal. But actually, creatively, it was definitely the right decision to make.
But you're not motivated. You've never struck me as being somebody who's motivated by money. You're motivated. I mean, I always said, because people have said to me... By the right job.
Yeah.
What's she like? I said, she's exactly the same, on and off. I'm sure she must have off days like everybody else does, like we all have. I said, but to be honest with you, what you see is what you get. That's it. And that's what's always been the appeal, because of your crazy childhood. And it was a crazy childhood, you know, compared to most people's. And then the television programme, I mean, 10 years of Big Brother is quite some going. That's a rarity.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's funny when I look back at it, it was me meeting Matthew, getting married to Matthew, all my babies. You know, I went through a whole life on that programme. All the kind of the changes. When I look at series 1 and what I was wearing, you know, I wore trainers on every show. Hilarious. Like, I'd never do that now.
Far too sophisticated.
Yes, it's far too sophisticated now. Yeah, it's funny looking back. But it did, when you think of it like that, a chunk of your life. And all of my babies, all of my children now have got their own Big Mother T-shirt, which I framed.
Really?
The ones that I wore when I was pregnant with them. Yeah, so when they go off to university or whatever, they can take their Big Mother T-shirt with them. It
was interesting because I think over the years, and we were talking about this in the office the other day, Big Brother has sort of changed now into sort of producing people who deliberately behave badly. In the early days of Big Brother, nobody knew what it was. It was hidden cameras, so people were natural. And I still get a few of the early ones either phoning me or sending me a text or something like that. And now they know how to play the game. They've learnt what people are looking for. So you're either terribly rude to somebody,
But I always say...
You're just vile.
I always say that can only last... You can only act in that house for a certain amount of time. And then you are what you see. You can't hide it forever. So somebody that's not a very nice person might come in and look like a very nice person, but then after a while turn into a complete cow. That's because you cannot hide it. And people always used to go, you've edited me to look bad. But I said, you said it. You said that stuff. And that's why it's very painful going in there, because it holds up a mirror to yourself. But
they did
tough.
that, I think, in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. There were a few people who went into it and then they're going, of course, you didn't actually show me on the programme. And you think, but you've got to do something to warrant... It's no good just sitting on a log is not enough. We're looking for a bit more. So when they complain about being edited, you go, listen, you've signed this thing. You know what the programme is. Just embrace it. I mean, some of them wander through it, la-di-da. They couldn't care less. They're just there. They don't want to be confrontational, just want to have something to eat, have a chat to people, maybe make a new friend, and that's it. But they need to find something for them to do.
Yes.
Because sitting around doesn't really
for me,
motivate them.
it's Ant and Dec. I'm a Celebrity. It's all about Ant and Dec. They make me laugh on that programme specifically. I don't know why. So much. They're just so naughty, and such funny things happen. They just make me giggle.
Yeah.
I love those boys.
It's put it this way. It's a clever act honed to perfection.
Oh God!
There is nobody that could ever take away from them what they got.
And they live like next door to
directly
each
next
other.
door in
I mean,
Chiswick. Yes.
They go on holidays. They've got houses abroad and next door to. I mean, it's so sweet.
But they're never going to be able to grow up, are they? They're always going to be... To me, they're always 18.
But they still look 18.
I know.
Like, how do they do that?
I don't know.
That is not
Sepia
fair.
television,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. I mean, there's all the... You know what it's like. The moment sort of high-definition television came in, everybody in the world was going, oh, my God. And so they developed new makeup, spray makeup, which was sort of fine as opposed to the thick caked on.
Exactly.
And people started panicking, didn't they, about, how young you were going to look on television.
HD was quite an awakening.
Yes.
Yeah, you had to be
frightening for everybody.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Davina, I'm assuming you have a DVD out at Christmas.
Of course I do, Steve.
Do you have?
I mean, it wouldn't be Christmas without a new DVD. It's called 30-Day Fat Burn.
Right.
And it's like a month-long plan of fat burning, which we love. We
see,
all
the
love
trouble
that.
is, as you probably noticed since we last met, I've put on a few ounces. I put it down to the fact I'm on insulin, and I think insulin is...
that's not a joke. That's
serious,
That does play...
it does play a part.
havoc with your weight.
And it does make you fluctuate and go up and down. So I have sort of what I call fat days, and I have really fat days. And then I have days
That's
where
a
I think,
horrible
it's just
thing.
horrid. It's so annoying because I don't seem to be eating any more. Admittedly, I'm drinking a bit more, which I think there's too much sugar.
Do you exercise?
Davina, with all honesty, do I look like I exercise?
Because that's the big thing.
I know.
That will help your metabolism deal with food and everything's... Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with that.
No,
what to
but
do.
I've always said to people, because every year I see a picture of a reality star in a park with a very fat tummy, and I think, you're being photographed, so they'll put that on the front cover.
I sometimes think that.
Do you? I think it all the time.
I look at the photos and I think, I wonder if you're going to do one this year.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if you're going to do one this year.
Yeah, there is
With
in fact
face
a
full of burger.
new reality show coming out. I think it's been filmed and it's got people like Gemma Collins and Anne Widdecombe, and I think it's Sugar Free Farm or something.
That's actually a brilliant show.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I think I've seen it before.
Series 1 was amazing.
But it's the
with
fact
Arj.
that it doesn't seem to have made any difference because Gemma Collins is exactly the same size. And I know they finished filming. So she was on Sky the other day talking about Essex Girls. And I thought, so obviously you've been on this, it's not made any difference. Because if you are, I think you're either a thin person or a fat person. I think you can probably train a fat person to be thin. But at the same time, I think some people are naturally slim.
I do think that some people can seem to eat whatever they want and not put on weight. But there is definitely... I think it's 80% food and 20% exercise, and you have to do both. I know. It's a bore.
Do you not eat before you go to bed? Do you have are you a strict regime?
I wouldn't eat just before I go to bed. Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
No, because I can't sleep on a full stomach. And
you
I
so
know
can.
you eat late, don't you?
I do eat late,
You eat
yes.
very late because because I've got kids, I usually eat at about 6:30.
Oh, right.
And then if I'm hungry, I'll have some nuts or an apple or something in the evening. It's your face.
Do you never fancy a spring roll or something?
Oh, no. I mean, sometimes I'll do that. If I go out for a meal or something, I'll not be too careful. I try and enjoy myself sometimes, otherwise life's miserable.
Yes.
But most of the time, I'm good.
When was the last time you had a milkshake?
Oh, my... Years.
So,
Years. And I used to eat malt milkshake.
Oh, malted milkshakes.
But that's years. I mean,
Yeah.
children can do that and get away with
Do you
it.
have
but-
chips?
I had 2 chips last night out of my husband's chip bucket.
It's interesting,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
but it's
but I don't
paid
really.
off. It's paid off.
Sweet potato fries.
Everybody tells me that's the
Oven-baked.
way forward.
Oven-baked, they're
Yes,
delicious.
I do oven bake fries. But there was a woman in the paper the other day. She only eats fruit, no meat,
But that's
only
sugar.
fruit. Plus, she'll do vegetables at lunchtime, things like that. But she wakes up the day with lemon juice in hot water, which is great. But it takes the enamel off your teeth, which is fantastic.
I know, but what kind of a life is that?
Well, she thinks it makes her younger. I'm taking a break. I'm talking to Davina. For goodness sake, honestly. Very pushy, this producer. Very pushy. We will talk about, actually, because the weight thing ties in quite nicely with Davina's brand new show, which is called This Time Next Year. It's a very clever concept. So more from Davina McCall after this. Special guest in conversation. We've removed the producer. We've got somebody different in now. Not putting up with that kind of malarkey here. Davina McCall is here. We were talking about weight because she's very concerned about it, hence I forget how many DVDs you've had out now.
I think it might be 12.
Is it 12?
This is quite mad, isn't it?
Wow.
I know.
Which goes to prove what a nation of fatties we are, which ties in sort of with a new programme which Davina has got called This Time Next Year. And it's, to put it in a nutshell, it's pledging. It's a case of somebody wants to do something, you've got a year to do it. And they will check up on you in the year's time. So you have to do it for your own sanity and the fact that you've committed yourself.
Do you know, I always say to people that are trying to get motivated to start exercising, because lots of people go, God, I really want to do it, but I just can't start. And I always say, make a pledge. Go and sign up for something. Sign up for a race, a charity event. Sign up for something that you have to get fit for. And this is just the ultimate version of that, this show, because you make a pledge in front of a studio audience, in front of this country, that in a year you're going to walk back through that door with having achieved whatever you're setting out to achieve. But what I really like about this show is not everybody does, because life happens. And I think it's important for people to understand that sometimes you make a pledge, but I don't know, something really sad might happen or something great might happen, which means that you couldn't quite do it this year, but you're definitely going to do it next year, you know, because life is like that. But some of the transformations, I mean, we saw last week, Sarah Jane Croft, she lost 10 stone. And what it did for her, her love life, her marriage, her and her husband became so close because it became a team effort. They were doing it together. Her confidence, just everything about her. She was just amazing. And, you know, it's not just weight stories, it's stories. I mean, James obviously was a big one for me last week. It's one of my favourite stories where he wanted to overcome his stammer.
Oh, right.
And what was really sweet was we were talking about it and he was saying, you know, my mum, she can't shut me up now. And he'd been wanting to talk for so long and so frustrated at all the things that he'd wanted to say. And now his mum's like, oh, please, for the love of God, shush, shush. But really moving. Yeah. And, you know, there's people that want to have babies. There's a woman who has had such terrible pain in her leg. She wants to have her leg amputated, which is a terrible thing, but to her it would make a big difference. And when I'm looking at the door, I ask them not to tell me. I don't know if they've achieved what they set out to achieve a year before.
See, that then is actually quite a clever premise, because that means that you get a genuine reaction from somebody,
absolutely.
Not something forced.
I can't fake it.
No.
I'm rubbish at that.
It has to be a genuine reaction so you can go, oh my God.
Yeah, it's got to be. And when I saw Sarah Jane Croft, I nearly cried because I was like, I knew you'd look different. Well, I was hoping you'd look different, but I would never expect that. Yeah. It was incredible.
Well, I watched somebody crying on television the other day who was with you. and it was Alan Carr in the Stand Up for Cancer.
Yeah.
And they kept, on Channel 4, they kept showing this clip, and it was a young man who, really good looking, but he was dying.
Yes.
And he'd been given something like 3 years, between 3 and 5 years, which means that it effectively curtails his life.
He was the judo champion.
He was a judo champion.
Yeah.
He seemed such a nice guy. His father broke down on the programme. Yeah. His mum was sort of talking about it, and it came back to the studio, and Alan Carr was beside himself, and you put your arm round him because he was obviously deeply affected, because you are. When you see somebody, you see children on programmes on the television who are dying, and it affects you because you think, there but for the grace of God go I. I'm still alive at this age. There are other people who won't see the end of today. They will be dying today. And you were with a friend of yours who died. I remember reading the report of it on it's so traumatic, but so good to be with somebody at the end of their life, to let them know.
You're the only other person that I've ever met that said that. I was with my sister when she died, and I found it to be a great honour to be with her, and that I would want other people to be with me. I wouldn't want to be alone.
No.
And that to be at somebody's birth and to be at somebody's death would be the greatest honour of all. Painful, difficult, agonisingly sad, but an honour. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I missed my mother's death. She deliberately held out until the early hours of the morning, which annoyed me. But the woman in the hospice had said, listen, we keep telling her, let go. You have to let go. But if somebody's with you, the last sense, I think, is hearing, so they can hear you.
I talked all the way to
And so you talk all the way through it, and you're holding them, because you don't quite know what it is at the end of somebody's life. You don't know what they're going through, because we've not been through it. You can only say to them, listen, I love you so much.
Yeah.
I'm so going to miss you. You don't understand. But at the same time, you want to kind of hold it together.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult thing to do. But as you say, it's such an honour to be out with somebody.
And so few people are with the people that they love. When we went to register Caroline's death, they said, were you with her at the time of death? And I said, yes. And he looked at me and he said, lucky you.
Yeah.
He said, so many people do miss it, by half an hour, or they're at hospital, or it's an accident, or... So I thought,
that's even worse. It's
lucky me.
To be with somebody, and for her to have finished her life with you there, holding her, because you said in this interview, you talked about putting cream on and all sorts of things, because you've never seen her naked, like you don't.
No, but
like
also she wasn't like me. I strut around naked, all the time.
I can imagine.
And she used to come and sit and talk to me while I had a bath. So she was used to seeing me naked all the time.
I think it's a girly thing.
I never saw her naked, ever, because she was a very private person.
Yeah.
I wrote about that a lot in my book. Like the whole last sort of chapter was about Caroline and what she'd given to me.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I remember after my mother died, I remember saying to my brother's 2 daughters, who were very young at the time, I said, every Christmas I'd say, do you remember Granny? Because I didn't want them to forget her.
No.
Because I sort of... I don't know, it still affects me now, and it was years ago. It's really bizarre.
It never leaves you, though.
It doesn't leave you, does it?
And sometimes it hits you like a freight train. Out of the blue.
Oh, I can sit in front of a movie and bawl my eyes out. I'm pathetically awful.
No, but it's good. You've got to let it kind of
It is. I think it is good. But I'm glad I read that bit about you, because I know you. Well, I know as much of you as you allow me to know.
Yeah.
I thought, God, I know exactly what that feeling is like. It's like people losing dogs and cats and stuff like that. So how many episodes of this time next year do we have?
6.
6. But then it means you come back next year.
Well, we're hoping to. I think we're going to wait and see what the reception's
recommission,
like.
Please.
Yeah, recommission, please. But I can't imagine why it wouldn't. It's so full of joy.
Yeah.
And it takes a year to make, so it's not something that we can just kind of make again next year and have. So hopefully we will, yeah.
Where did you find
Fingers
the people from? Do they put adverts in? I don't know how they cast.
They put adverts all over the place, and I interviewed lots and lots of people last September. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. We had sort of 15 minutes with each person. And again, I didn't want... Oh, sorry, just banged the microphone. I didn't want to know too much about them. I wanted to kind of know their pledge, but then find out why, what, how, because I don't know about you, but sometimes it doesn't help to know everything about somebody, because then you've got nothing you want to find out.
Well, that's the same with interviews for me. It's a case of... I know the basic outlines. I know where I'm heading, I think, most of the time. But then the rest of the time, it's
got to be a chat.
It's got to be a chat.
Yeah.
And you learn something. I learn something new about people every day. As you said, every day for you, you learn something new. You either learn a new skill, you learn things about yourself, you learn things about people, you know what you can do, you know what affects you. Life is, and the older we get, and I'm a bit older than you.
But the more we learn.
Quite, the more you learn, and the more it makes you better.
That's what makes growing older acceptable, palatable.
Yes, I've always said everybody's got a story. Every person you see sitting in a bus shelter, they've got a story. And I always think you could sit down and talk with anybody that you'd meet on the street.
That's a great TV show, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
To go round
Call
and
it Everybody's Got a Story.
Just go and sit down with anybody, sit next to somebody and just start talking to them.
Well, can you imagine, though? I mean, did you know enough about your parents? Well, yes, obviously. But did you know life before you came along?
Well, I didn't know that much about my mum because I didn't live with her, so I didn't get all her family stories.
Yeah.
And I wrote lessons I've learned for my children, so that they would have some history on paper that they could show their children and their children's children.
Yes.
It's kind of part of a family history or part of what I'm about. But also part of my mother's story, my father's story. I mean, a little bit of, and about my grandmother, you know, who will be my children's great-grandmother. They know her very well, but the children's children won't. So that's really important to me. Family history,
to me too.
Passing knowledge
I don't
down.
like to think that when I pass on, other people will move into my place. They won't know anything about me at all.
But they won't.
They don't know anything.
No one can move into your place. You are you. You leave a legacy.
Yeah, but sometimes I don't know what I think's on the other side. I don't know if I'm frightened about going there or I'm not frightened. I'm quite pleased because I keep thinking I'm going to see my parents.
Do you know, I often think that about faith. That when people get older, often people that are older find faith because they need to believe.
Start going to church.
That there's something on the other side.
That's why churches are full of old people.
Yeah, well, it's comforting.
Yes.
To believe.
Not for years for us, ladies and gentlemen.
Not for years, but it's just an interesting...
It's a concept, though. It's an interesting thought that, you know, there has to be something else. I just don't know what it is. I've never met anybody who's come back from the other side.
I feel like my sister's giving me signs all the time.
Yes, I feel my mother is. I don't think my father is, but my mother's definitely giving me signs. I'm not going anywhere.
No, you're not going anywhere.
Not just yet, anyway. This time next year is on a television near you, almost immediately. Davina McCall, bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely to see you.
I can go off and be crazy and insane in my work because I know my real life is not insane at all.
Yeah.
It's
normal.
very normal. Very normal. And it's like this